This is the show dedicated to raising up the next generation of men of faith and character. My name is Mark Stanifer. Welcome to the Next Man Up. Well, hey guys, welcome in once again to another episode of the Next Man Up podcast. So good to have you with us and to have you part of this community that is raising up the next generation of healthy and godly men, because when we do that, everyone benefits. You know this, my name is Mark, and today I'm joined by a guest, and we're going to be talking money. We're going to hit this topic head on in two different parts, but before I get to that, let me just pause here and make an ask. If you are a regular listener with us and have been part of this community for a while, would you head out to Apple Podcast and give us a review? Let us know what you think, either just a review or a comment, or package them together as long as you're already there. We would love to get your feedback recorded and use that as a way to help other guys get introduced and signed on to this show and this journey. So that's one request. The second request is this. If you're not already part of our mail list, would you do that? You can head on out to our website, thenextmanup.com, and find our free guide, 4 Things Boys Need to Become Men, and just sign up to join our mail list, get that guide, and then you'll be part of our regular updates and part of this ever-growing community. And final reminder, if you have any feedback for us, you can email us at feedback@thenextmanup.com, or you can check us out on Facebook at TNMU Journey is our handle. So my guest today is Kent Irwin. He's a husband, he's a father, and currently he's serving on staff with a local church in the capacity of helping people to better manage their money and their finances. After a long career in the professional space, which Kent gets into a little bit, he's migrated now into this ministry space, which really has always been a heart of his. And he joins us today to talk specifically about how we can grow in our understanding and practicing of managing our finances. As I said, we're going to bring this to you in 2 parts. The first one is focused on looking at money in the context of a marriage relationship. And we get into things like competing priorities between husband and wife, how to get to shared goals, or how the money topic and improving there can lead to overall improvements in your entire relationship. And then next week, in the second half, we're going to shift gears and come at the topic from the perspective of a parent and how to set your kids up well for success in this space of money and finance and money management as they become adults. So that's where we're going. Excited to have Kent on the show and bring him to you. And so let's just do that. Here's part 1 of our money talk with Kent Irwin. Well, Kent, good to have you on the show today, man. I appreciate you giving us some of your time, some of your wisdom and experience, and I'm excited to get into this topic with you.
Well, thank you. I'm looking forward to talking to you as well.
So you know this probably more than anyone because you work in the space, but when you get into money, it can come with lots of different issues, and we will get into some of those issues and some ideas and some tips and tricks. But before we do that, I was wondering if you could just give us a chance to get to know you. So like when I look at your bio or when I read your title, it says something like Pastor of Financial Ministry for Vineyard Columbus here in town. What is that? And what does that mean as you think about what you do?
The title I've been using a little bit more recently is Stewardship Pastor. It has a broader meaning, but people think of me as the financial pastor at Vineyard Columbus. I mean, we're a church of about 7,000 people. And what does that mean? I guess it means that I help people when it comes to their faith journey where finances cross over, where finances touch their spiritual journey. And so that's I mean, that's a really big kind of 30,000 foot view, but that's basically what I try to do is I try to assist people in their discipleship journey when it comes to the finances and a lot of the things that finances touch, like their careers, how they interact with their spouse when it comes to money, because money could be, really a touch point for so many things in our relationships and in our careers, our goals in life.
So I like the word stewardship, and I like how you brought it into a bigger context than just dollars and cents, right? It's at least what I heard. Maybe I'm putting words in your mouth, but what I heard is the heart of stewardship is about resources, whether those resources are money, which is a lot of your focus, or talents, abilities, gifts, right? Different directions that you're going. I like that idea and use of the word stewardship.
Stewardship's kind of an old-fashioned term. It's not a real big biblical term, but it explains some biblical concepts quite well. It's rooted all the way back in Genesis, where right after God created this amazing universe, and he looked at his earth, and he was talking to mankind that he created, and said, I'm putting you over this to manage it and to grow it and to be fruitful. And so, and there's also another point in Scripture where God is actually bringing the animals to Adam to name them. Not sure quite how that picture looked, but you see kind of a partnering going on. You see a responsibility to steward things in partnership with God, for God is the owner. So that's kind of the biblical context for stewardship. We're temporary owners of that we're entrusted in. And that's the context of stewardship. We're not going to take anything with us, right, when we leave the planet. So we're asked to be good stewards over the things that he's made us responsible over. And some of those things might be our money, our family, our job, careers, just about everything. Rick Warren, as you know, the pastor of Saddleback out in California, it's a pretty large church. He said there's two themes that run through Scripture, two main themes: stewardship and redemption. You could write volumes of books on those two subjects and how they relate to one another.
How did you get to this point? Because you've got you got a few trips around the sun in you, and I'm curious what brought you to the point of where you are. You're helping folks in this ministry context with ideas around stewardship and finances.
I started out my first 25 years of my career, I was in the financial world. I sold products. I was a fee-only financial planner. I worked in the corporate world in investments and insurance, advanced planning. But during most of my career, I volunteered in financial ministries and churches, partly because that was where my gifting was. But I also was doing it with a mind to someday I may be involved in ministry. I always felt kind of pulled in that direction and called towards that. So no matter what I was doing, I kind of looked at some of the aspects of my career as, how is this going to prepare me for a future ministry position? Because that's ultimately what I wanted to do. Churches didn't really have very many financial pastors, but I really felt called to it. So when my church gave me the opportunity to help people with their finances, it was just a wonderful opportunity for that to really come into fruition.
Yeah, that's cool. So when we started the conversation, I hinted at some of the issues that come up when you start talking to people about money. And just thinking about, in my own experience with myself as well as interacting with others, the different ways that we want to portray something or we want to hide something when it comes to money. I continue to believe that when you get into the topic of finances, you really get into what people believe. And yet it's not an easy topic to get your arms around, and there are lots of different challenges that we face on a regular basis when it comes to money. So I wonder, in your years of experience, both as the the professional and the minister, sometimes separately, sometimes combined. What are some of those big challenges that you see people are facing when it comes to stewardship, if you will, of our financial picture?
Well, the challenges are quite complex and very powerful. I mean, we could talk about those for quite a while, but we live in a consumer culture. We live in an image sensitive culture. We live in a society of lots of peer pressure. We live in a culture where people are viewed as successful, depending on not just their position and their power, but their material possessions. And but there's other factors that come into play. What was your upbringing? How did your parents communicate about money or their expectations on you? Why did you choose the career that you did for the financial payoff, maybe? So there's lots of things that pull us to affect how we interact with money. It might be that we just love to reward ourselves. We love to bless ourselves. How we think of ourselves sometimes is an important thing. If we don't think that we are successful or content, unless we have some things in our life, that's a pretty powerful pull. Some people have a very strong sense of entitlement that I am not going to be a happy person. I'm entitled to this or that because of my hard work or my education or just who I am. That's a very strong pull.
So money is a sense of, I hear you saying a couple things. Money is a sense of validation, right? If I have it, then I'm worth, and also
right.
Also this pull toward, well, I'm entitled to this because of X or Y or Z.
Right. Yeah, that's really true. You hit on some. That validation is really quite key. I mean, another thing that makes it really hard for people today is the instant gratification. Buying used to be you had to shop around the yellow pages. Now it's open your phone and in an instant your heart desired something, you found it, and click, it'll be on your doorstep tomorrow or maybe even that afternoon. So there's that quick response. There's not that patience, that waiting on a decision to. And then the other factor has been easy credit. I mean, we have a financial system that encourages it for us to go into debt to satisfy our desires or our validations. So there's a lot of things that we battle in trying to manage money.
How about so let's make it even narrower, focus in a little bit more, make it closer to home. How about in the context of a home and in a family and working through some of these challenges, right? Like I'm picturing, so our audience is mostly dads, as you know, and I'm picturing a dad coming into the financial conversation different than his spouse. The mom comes into the conversation. And so as you think about the challenges within a marriage and within a family, what are some of the big ones that come to mind?
Well, one of the struggles that we see in marriage is between husbands and wives. They have different wiring. Some are savers, some are spenders. Sometimes husbands or wives differ on the things that they want to have financially. Maybe one person wants the immediate gratification, the other person wants to save for retirement. So a lot of times there's a struggle just on daily purchases. And so that can be a real challenge for couples as well. But we also see spouses struggle because one spouse is sometimes perceived as not pulling their weight, either in managing the money, or we've seen a lot of dissatisfaction pointed at the spouse because they're not doing as well in their career as they thought they should, so that they're not able to stay up with some of their friends. So I've seen that to be a really kind of negative pressure that some spouses have pushed on other spouses.
So that pressure that you're describing is one spouse not satisfied with the other spouse and
Right.
the career progression or the income or wealth accumulation and all
Right.
that.
Or the spending pattern, or sometimes they see it as, you see competition between spouses and hiding. Well, I want to have this because they did that, so I'm going to buy this. And then they'll find about it 30 or 60 days later when they see the credit card statement, and then they make excuses or argue that they spent money on themselves that wasn't revealed until later. So you see this kind of spousal competition where they don't always see the money as a joint kind of one pot of money, but they see it as my money or her money.
So that's an interesting word that you use, competition. I'm not sure I've heard that before in the context of finances or managing your money. Say more about what you mean when you use that word competition.
As humans, we all have desires for things that we like, a hobby or something that might make us feel important or beautiful, an outfit or an activity that we want to invest in, maybe boating or hunting or golf or, whatever it might be. Those sound like I'm picking on the men, and I am not. So you have two people that live together, and they have competing egos. They have competing desires. And so often they want what they want for themselves more, that they see as more important than what might be that their spouse might want, or that there might be good for the entire family. So you kind of see this, not necessarily a sports-related competition, but you competition on desires of what one person wants. So if people, they're in marriage, they have different sets of goals, they will compete against each other. They'll have abrasion between each other.
Okay, so how do you help those marriages in that context? And again, our listeners are going to be predominantly men here. So you're sitting across the table from a man who's just described that situation that you presented. What do you tell him? How do you help him in that context to begin to work through this in a healthy way?
Well, when I sit down in front of a married couple, and this is an issue that comes up, it might not be a big competition thing, but you'll often see a different set of goals going on. Let's just put it that way, different sets of goals. Maybe the husband, it's important that he has a new, really cool sports car every 3 years. That's the way I was, early in our marriage. I just loved having a new car. I'd lease a new car every 3 or 4 years, and I'm a car guy, and so that's kind of how I was wired. But there was other goals for the family, saving money to go on vacations or to plan for retirement or the daily needs that the family might have. So we're at a different place now in our marriage. So how we have worked through that might be to describe how we try to go about it now. My wife and I will talk about the things that we want individually financially and those things that we want as a couple. Our kids are grown now, so there's things that I like to do that I enjoy, and there's things that she likes to do that she enjoys. So what I encourage couples to do is fall in love with their spouses in goals. So my wife might love to buy a new outfit, or she might like to go out and get a medi-pedi. And I don't get nails. I mean, I don't understand that, but it makes her feel beautiful if she's got her toes and her fingers have, the nails are really nice. And I celebrate that. I'm happy for her. I don't get mad when she goes off and has that done. It isn't very often. It's like once every few months. But I celebrate it. I'm happy for it. I tell her it's really nice because it is nice, and so I celebrate that. I fall in love with her goals. The same thing is that when I go golfing, she comes home, it just blows my mind. She takes an interest. Well, how did you do today? Well, what are you working on? Well, she asks unbelievably questions and really shows that she's really interested in something that I do, which before she had no interest at all. So she kind of falls in love with the things that I like to do. So we're supporting each other in the individual goals. And I think that's a good demonstration of marital love and how we do that. But there's also goals that we want to achieve together. So say we want to plan for a vacation or retirement. So those are things that we realize, we better, save on those together. It's not like, I'm going to do all the things I want with my money. It's no. These are the things that we're going to do together to plan. If I was saying, this is my money, I'm going to do what I want, and you plan for retirement on your own, now all the retirement planning would fall on her, and then she wouldn't be able to do as many things for herself. So it's the idea of having joint goals, individual goals, and we work on them together. So it kind of removes that competition. If I know that she hates what I do and I hate what she does, it just creates kind of a bad dynamic. So we've kind of broken down the walls, and that's the place that we are now. So it works together, I think, well, that we help each other. We contribute to each other individually and joint goals.
So I'm hearing you, and I hear in there a lot of purposeful communication and compromise, negotiation in its positive forms, right? Not in like I'm negotiating to get what I want, but like negotiating together to be on the same page and working through this together. I can imagine there's a listener out there who's like, I really don't want my wife to run off and do these things because I want to, my goals are different. How do I get to the point where I can celebrate her goals when I don't really want her spending money the way she's spending money? What would you say to that person?
Well, I mean, it's a journey. You're not going to change overnight on the things that you're doing that aren't quite right. And she isn't going to either. Right? So it's a journey. It's a transformation of our heart. So it takes time. So who starts first? If the husband's listening to this and it's like, yeah, I get this, where do I start? So, well, you start by trying to get to know your wife a little bit better and understand, ask her questions. What's important to her? Would she like to do for the family or for the kids, or what would she like to be able to do for herself that she hasn't been able to do? Or what would be nice for her to do every now and then that she wouldn't feel like she was taken away from me, or something that would make her feel kind of important or be a sense of relaxation or enjoyment for her? Find out what those things are. I mean, that's part love, and also our walk with the Lord is partially it's self-denial. And it's also developing what's called a like mind. I want to have the mind of Christ. So I kind of see where my mind is and I also want to have a mind similar, more aligned with my wife, right? It says that we will be one in marriage. Part of that is having like-mindedness. And so how do we do that? We take some time. We learn about our wife. We celebrate those things that are cool about her. We tell ourselves we love them, even though we might not really feel it. You might have to kind of, like what they say, fake it before you make it. Might not really love the fact that she wants to do those things, but it's like, well, wait a minute, I love her. I'm going to celebrate that. I'm going to find that really cool. So it takes heart change. You have to be deliberate to do this. And it takes some softening of your own heart. So that's a good place to start. For some husbands, when they have that, begin to have some of those discussions with their wife, she might just faint and fall over. A lot of spouses, they will be like, this is one of the nicest conversations we've ever had. And they will feel lifted up, they'll feel redeemed, they'll feel loved, and it will soften their heart toward the things that you like. Oh, that's really cool, honey. What do you like? Well, no, this time's about you. No, honey, what do you like? Okay, well, these are the things that I like to do that make me feel important. So, so how you communicate it and go about it, it'll be different from one couple to the next. But it's a partnership, and it creates good fruit for the relationship for the long term. Couples that don't do it, I've seen couples that have been married for 50, 60 years, and they didn't do it. They just became more and more separate over time. He had his life, she had her life, and it was just really sad. Money got more and more separate bank accounts, and and then sometimes they end up living in separate rooms in the house. It's like, stop. Let's start working on some things together. My partner is my helpmate. That's the term used in Genesis. She will help me. She will help us, and I will help her. She will help us. Once we start helping each other, we'll probably end up with more good stuff that make us happy. And it's actually good for couples in intimacy too, because you're breaking through walls of intimacy. And I think husbands are always. I'm hearing from a lot of husbands, they wish there was more of that. And this is one way to increase intimacy in couples.
Yeah, it's interesting, because we're talking specifically about finances, but what I hear you suggesting in all of this is really the thing that brought us together in the first place as couples, right? It's that right. Love. And then it's continuing to invest and grow the relationship. And out of there comes financial fruit, which is being on the same page, working together, not going different directions. It's almost like the way we work with our finances is a symptom of the quality and the characteristic of our relationship. And if you want to, quote unquote, fix the finances, then focus on the relationship and the finances will come from there. I may be putting words in your mouth, but that's what I'm hearing as you're describing this.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's fairly accurate. Yeah.
Well, I hope you're enjoying the conversation with Kent we're having so far. And some of these big ideas, these themes like stewardship and eliminating competition around money, maybe a new idea that you hadn't thought of before, certainly was new for me. Eliminating competition around money with your wife, or building better communication and creating some shared goals, and how as you work together, it begins to grow your overall relationship. One of the things I thought was quite poignant was this: how you work together with your finances is an indication of the quality of your overall relationship. Well, as I said, we're going to break this into 2 episodes. So this is where we're going to pause this week. We'll be right back next week to finish the conversation, and we'll take the angle of the parenting side of managing money. What does this look like to handle it well as you're raising up your kids? Plus, Kent will share some good resources, some good content for those of you that want to grow and go deeper in this space. Well, once again, thanks for being with us. I hope you join us again next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. And until then, guys, adios. Hey listeners, thanks for journeying with us on this Next Man Up podcast. We would love to hear from you. Maybe you have a question or an idea, perhaps a topic for us to consider. If that's you and you want to reach out to us, you can get us at feedback@thenextmanup.com. That's feedback@thenextmanup.com. Again, we'd love to hear from you. Until next time, we'll see you later.